Hey guys, this is Jay here at FantasyLabs with video 2 of how to transition from a fish to a shark in MLB DFS. In the first video, I showed you how to navigate our free tools and extract all of the helpful information that we provide, at least allowing you to swim in the ocean without getting eaten. However, even with these amazing tools that we offer completely free, you're still swimming close to shore in the shallow waters. And we really want to explore the depths of the ocean, similar to Jack Sparrow in the Black Pearl or James Cameron in the Deep Sea Challenger. If you're watching this video, I'm assuming that you've learned and spent time on everything from video 1 and would like to advance to the next level. If you just started at this video, then you're a boss and I don't really need to say anything else to you. In the first video, I recommended that you get your feet wet by playing some free games or perhaps some small dollar, large field 50-50s, double ups, and some GPPs. So hopefully by now you're at least comfortable with entering a few games on DraftKings and FanDuel, but you might have noticed you aren't quite making bank yet. So in this video, I'm going to show you why you need to become a premium member to FantasyLabs. I'll explain how to get the most out of our premium tools in a practical manner so you can eventually become a much better DFS player and of course grow your lettuce, because when we're being real, that's kind of our primary goal here. So to start off, you can see our premium tools up top here are displayed with a dollar sign, not just because they cost money, because they'll also make you money. So you can think of our free tools that I went over in the last video as sort of an appetizer, and no matter how good they are, they just aren't fulfilling enough. So this is where you need our models page and our my lineups page, which are essentially the main course of the site. So for this video, I'll break down the importance of the player models page. Alright, now that's loaded, so upon signing up, this is what you'll see when you are a premium member when you click the models page. So it can be overwhelming at first with the sheer amount of numbers. A lot of them probably won't make sense right away. So instead of letting this discourage you, I strongly recommend watching our tutorial videos that Bale's created to break down the specifics of each tab and why they are important. So if you go in the top left and you click the Get Started tab, you can see all these videos and kind of watch them and see why they're important. I recommend starting at the top and just go one by one through all the player models tabs right here, the videos, and kind of get yourself used to them, familiarize yourself with all of this information before swimming in the deeper waters. So I'm not going to break down the models page by explaining definitions because it's already been done. Instead, I'll kind of be conveying why, as a DFS player, you need to have a model to be successful. And kind of going back in history of DFS, the short-lived history as it is, models have really evolved more and more over the course of the history of DFS. Back in the day, you could make money with a very simple model. The first time I played DFS was actually college basketball. I believe it was during the NBA strike in 2011. And college basketball as a sport at the time didn't really have much readily available data, so I would scout players, especially freshmen, because there's not much to go off of. Combine basic statistics to formulate projections based off game logs, strength of opponent, Vegas data, and a few other factors. So really, it was a lot of basic stuff at the time, but at the time it was enough to win 70% of my cash games. So DFS has come a long way since then. Nowadays, you'll likely get crushed if you don't have access to some type of algorithm where relevant data is calculated and processed for you. A lot of people try DFS for the first time and lose to some pro and immediately give up saying it's rigged or the pro just gets lucky. You kind of look with the nature of sports and competition, people are generally really stubborn and don't like to admit when someone is better than them, especially revolving sports. And they kind of fail to comprehend that the opponent behind the handle is grinding and putting in that hard work every single day. So you're not just going to come into this industry and smash without either having an unparalleled work ethic or having access to top of the line tools. And this is really where our models page comes in and thrives. This is essentially a necessity at this point, necessary to use, because if you aren't using a model, then you're going to be a step behind a majority of players. So I think we have come a long way since the beginning of DFS. You look at us now and we track every piece of relevant news on Twitter. It's updated constantly on the models page within a matter of seconds. You don't have to dig for information. You can focus on other areas of improving your DFS game. I think one of the biggest, most important things is that accumulating data was always such a difficult aspect of DFS, but with our models page now, it's really no longer a concern. Alright, so I'm going to get into some specifics of the models page and highlight what I think are the three most important aspects that directly help you become a better player. The first aspect that I want to talk about with our models page is customization. This is probably the most significant feature about the site in general and something that I think sets us above the rest of the industry. When you become a premium subscriber, you're not solely paying for an article breaking down the slate. You're not paying to be told what to do or who to play each night, like a lot of tout articles, which we try to avoid. Instead, you're paying for tools that allow you to differentiate your strategy on every single slate every single day, all based on a number of factors that are data driven. We're all about teaching you the process instead of just throwing plays your way so you can really evolve as a player, which is how you succeed long term. So when you first open up the models page, you can see that we have preloaded pro models for you. You can just click the open tab here and click pro models. I won't spend too much time on these because you can kind of read the description next to each one to see how they're all different. Um, some people I've seen ask, they don't see the point in having multiple models and think, this is excessive. Why would anyone need more than just one? And I think you can use one model, and I think a lot of people do. But having the option to select how you want to weigh certain statistics relative to what type of contest you're entering is a pretty huge advantage. So you can see, these pro models here and read definitions about them and click on them and kind of see the sliders on the side of how they're different. So to put this into context, I'll head over to DraftKings and tell you what model I'd use for a few contests that are available for tonight's slate. And this isn't the most appealing slate because it's split up. It's a Thursday. There are only 9 games, but you can get a general idea. So the first 2 games that are available, let's see, let's go. Yeah, main slate. Alright, yeah, so we'll sort by prize pool. The first 2 are definitely large tournaments, $3 and a $27 tournament, um, which I think you look at the size, and this means you need to get pretty contrarian to have a chance to win. So for these, I would recommend the tournament model, which emphasizes upside and doesn't weigh floor very high. These are kind of boom or bust lineups, meaning you might bust 24 times out of 25, but boom on one, and your ROI overall is still positive due to the large prize pools, especially for first place. And normally they're much larger, but this one's 10K for $27 buy-in. And again, this is a very small 5-game slate. And the next one, let's see, I'll bring up the Gold Glove, which has just 70 players in it. And for this, I would consider using the Vegas heavy model, which puts an emphasis on Vegas lines and focuses on certain stacks, as well as puts a premium on your pitcher. So because this field isn't too large, you don't need to go full contrarian with a lot of your picks, but you also can't create a cash lineup because you're definitely playing for a top 4 result. So you don't need to take on as much risk in this tourney. If you choose a stack that matches up well with constantly updated Vegas data and pair it with some high upside players and a top pitcher, you have a lineup process that suits this tournament very well, which is what this model does. We can move on and you can look at the perfect game, which is $300 buy-in with 259 people. Decent sized tournament, but still nothing compared to the $3 moonshot that has 43,000 players. So for this one, I would probably use the Bales model for this type of tournament because it leans more GPP based but still retains some cash elements in terms of highlighting upside, but also emphasizing floor as well. Then you move further down, we get into these giant double ups, $5 and $25 double ups. They are larger on larger slates and whatnot, but I would recommend using the cash model for these double ups and 50-50s since your range to cash is much larger. There's no difference between a top 5% lineup and a top 40% lineup when these are the types of games you're playing. So for these types of games, you really want to emphasize a high floor and have high consistency, at least as much as you possibly can in MLB. So I think you play these every day over time, you can become a consistent winning player by placing a high value on safe lineups. And instead of kind of messing around with your model every single day, if you're playing different games, if you want to do some tournaments, some 3-mans, whatever, and then switch over to a double up, it's really nice to have different models that are already preset for the type of game you want to enter. And then finally, for head-to-heads, whether you post or take off the board, I'd recommend the CSU RAM model. A model that is similar to the cash model in that it emphasizes floor and safety, but it's created by arguably the best cash player in all of DFS. So of course, if you don't like any of these models that we have available, you can always create your own by adjusting the sliders on the side over here. So Vegas score is an example, and this is something that I'll get into a bit more in depth with benefits of creating your own model in a future video. You can weigh certain data however you like to get the results that you want in your model. So I think all this said, the ability to customize throughout the models page is arguably the most important aspect of the site and one that you should really be taking full advantage of. The second aspect of the models page that I'll discuss, and this one might be my personal favorite, is efficiency. Now, most people don't have the luxury of being able to kind of sit on their computer all day, studying Fangraphs data, ordering Grubhub, watching and analyzing games all night, sweating your teams, your tournaments. Most people have full-time jobs during the day, pack a lunch, and then they have no choice but to check box scores on their phone during dinner with their significant other or whatnot. So the models page, you look at it, it's so efficient and saves you so much time that you don't need to worry about anything throughout the day. You don't need to collect data. You don't need to search for lineups to see if players are confirmed. You don't need to take time to see if who all the players that crush lefties are, and so on and so on. We have it all there for you every single day, customized for every single slate, saving you a lot of time. And even if you do have the time to gather all this information, it's still difficult to compile it and analyze it in a way that's profitable. And not everyone is born a computer genius like JP from Grandma's Boy. So using this model, let's go back to yesterday in the models, so I can show you when the model is completely updated as opposed to today. You can see there are just a few lineups in so far. So you just click date up here, and we can click Wednesday the 22nd. So you can see the green check marks next to every player, which confirms that they are playing. You can easily navigate all of our data and statistics in a timely manner, which is a crucial step in your lineup creation process. One of the main features of the models page is the optimizer. Right here you click on lineups, and I'll get into this a bit more in a couple of videos from now, but the optimizer is a very powerful tool that helps save a ton of time when needed. So as an example, let's say you entered cash games for the main slate last night, but you had to stay at work for longer because a coworker burned down your accounting department, and you had to retrieve all of the information before the fire department because your boss is cooking the books. Now, this is hypothetical, of course. Let's pretend you were in a pinch and needed a lineup within seconds. You can just use the optimizer to build your cash team. So let's say you're playing the main slate last night, and you want to just make a lineup with one click in a matter of seconds. You just click one button. It optimizes for you. There's your lineup if you needed to get one in quickly. This lineup actually scored 133.4 points, which was good for, I believe, a top 20% lineup on DraftKings last night. And of course, this doesn't happen every night, obviously. I don't recommend you just blindly use the optimizer for your games. I recommend more building your lineup by locking in some guys, and then if you get stuck, you can optimize the remaining slots to see what your options are. I have created a video in the past of how to construct lineups for both cash games and tournaments if you are interested in those specifics. Other examples of saving time are if you want to sort by WOBA differential, you just click the tab right here and it sorts both ways for you. You can see Seth Smith, and that's pretty solid WOBA, nothing special, but it just means he's a lot worse versus left-handed hitters, which is why Franklin Gutierrez plays over Seth Smith. So this is this is really nice. You can just click the tabs and it sorts everything for you. This is opposed to Life Pre-Labs, which was certainly a dark period of time where you had to import this stuff yourself, and it can be difficult if you aren't putting a lot of time into it. I had to teach myself how to master Microsoft Excel in the early days, and I could hardly use Microsoft Paint at the time. When it got to the point where I wanted to learn R, I thought my head would actually explode. And then fortunately Labs came along and saved us all. Let's say I'm playing a tournament and want to quickly find a player who has solid upside recently. I can just scroll over to the upside tab for the past fantasy month and sort there by upside. You can kind of scroll down and choose the guy who has a sufficient sample size. You can see the count here. So the guy at the top of a sufficient sample size, Pedro Alvarez. You can see that his His upside in the past month is 46%, which is great for tournaments. You know, you want a guy who has that ability to produce upside. So you can scroll over to his advanced stats in the last 15 days and see that um, he's hitting the ball on average 41 feet further, has an exit velocity increase of 8 miles per hour, and is hitting the ball 32% harder compared to his rolling 12-month average. So this is information that takes time to find otherwise. You can find it for every single player that you want within seconds. One of the main benefits in becoming a premium subscriber is how efficient your process becomes and the amount of valuable time that it saves you every single day. Finally, the third aspect I find valuable within our models page is the data itself. Now, obviously, any model can only be as good as the data, and any data can only be good if it is analyzed correctly. The cool thing about these models are that they're built specifically with DFS in mind, and then they're tinkered with by some of the best professional DFS players in the industry. You know, it really is something by the players for the players, and all of the data we provide directly translates to building successful lineups. I think the coolest part about MLB DFS, in my opinion, is that you don't need to know baseball to be successful. You don't need to know the evolution of baseball and who led the league in weighted runs created plus in 2009, or why a team deploys a shift or a hit and run or whatever. You don't even have to watch baseball because really it's boring. Baseball is such a data-driven sport with statistics having varying impacts relative to DFS that you can get by with just pure numbers. And we do all the legwork. We decide the significance of weighted on base average, isolated power as a few examples, so you can effortlessly build lineups and make money. And it's very important to take away the guesswork of choosing which players are in optimal situations. So that's where you can kind of sort by rating. You can scroll through all the data, see important pieces of information that you'll need to know for each slate. You start with split statistics, how every single player performs against certain pitcher handedness, basic statistics, detailing home run and stolen base rates, constantly updated Vegas data, advanced statistics for both the last 15 days and the last 12 months, and then fantasy points scored data for the last 12 months and then within the last month. So I think if there is only one thing to use every day when creating lineups, it's definitely the player models page. I think if you apply these three aspects that I just discussed of our premium tools to building lineups and combine them with other principles such as bankroll management, game selection, utilizing all of our free tools that I went over in the first video, I think you're well on your way to hanging with the sharks in 50-50s and tournaments that you would otherwise be too intimidated to join. So instead of being a step behind everyone else, I think I really encourage you to use our premium tools, specifically the player models page, to become a step ahead of everyone. I'll be back with you guys soon to discuss another part of our premium tools in the My Lineups page, and then also more advanced steps in progressing to the next level. These next few videos will take a couple of steep jumps up and kind of progress to the next level. So until then, check out the models page if you haven't already, and good luck in all of your upcoming contests.